out of nowhere, stretching in an arc from Baltimore down to Herndon, Virginia. And at one point, and this is taken from a period newspaper at the time, 4 of these 10 or 12 objects seem to form in a line up around the Herndon area, and they start moving toward National Airport here, 4 abreast. That was the only time in all these sightings where actually some of the objects seemed to be in formation. These objects, curiously enough, were not picked up by the tower, but they were also picked up by Andrews Air Force Base. So their radar and the ARTC radar meshed completely with regard to these sightings. Harry Barnes is once again on the phone. Send out the aircraft. 2 airplanes are scrambled, and this time there wasn't a huge delay. Before Harry Barnes had called around, maybe there was a huge delay. Before Harry Barnes had called around 12 o'clock and they showed up at 3 o'clock. But this time he called around 9:30 or so, 9 o'clock, and they showed up around 11. Okay, they're getting a little better. 2 airplanes come in. They're vectored around the area. They're told what lights to follow. None of the aircraft can catch up with any of the lights. They hightail it out of the area as soon as the plane sort of gets behind it. At that time, the Air Route Traffic Control Center was open to at least the press, and a number of press people congregated that night, July 26th, once they heard that these sightings were going on at the Air Route Traffic Control Center. They were somehow in there, in that little Quonset hut or something with Barnes looking at the screens. Among them was Bob Ginna, the fellow who had written the Life magazine article. The Air Force calls up their public information fellow in the Pentagon, Dewey Fournay, and they also get a radar expert to come in, a fellow named Holcomb. So both these 2 Air Force representatives come to the ARTC Center. They see the blips on the screen. They say they're good, solid blips. They don't look like weather inversions or the birds or anything else like that. They're completely unknown. Ruppelt is completely cut out of the loop in Dayton, Ohio. Somebody, I think it was Jenna himself, calls up from Life magazine and says, we're having huge sightings down here. And what should we do about it? What's going to go on? And Ruppelt just said, well, I don't know what's going to go on. In all likelihood, the Air Force will do nothing. And so Ruppelt had no play in this matter. The objects continue in the area, again, quite a few of them. And the second flight of aircraft is sent out, two airplanes, a sortie of 2 aircraft. Later on, after the first group had returned to Dover, they too are vectored onto dim targets. They can never catch up with the aircraft, with the unknowns. This document, again, it just says all crew members of the airplanes were emphatic that most unidentified returns were solid. Finally, it was mentioned that unidentified returns have been picked up from time to time over the past few months, but never before had they appeared in such quantities over such a prolonged period and with such definition as was experienced on the nights of 1920, 1952 July, and 27 July 1952. Big story in the press. Here was the headlines in the news. Ariel Wutzitz plus DC again. This is the kind of headlines that us UFO researchers die for. We don't get them anymore for some reason. Here was the big one, the king of them all, the Washington Post. Saucer outran jet, pilot reveals. Patterson was the pilot's name, and he described how he could never catch up with this object that seemed to be over the Mount Vernon area. Try as he might, his F-94 aircraft could reach maybe 500–600 miles an hour. They were not capable of Mach 1. This thing just completely outdistanced him. The Republican and Democratic conventions were going on for president this year. Herb Block took the opportunity of the UFO sightings to write a comic. It says up here, did they say Ike or Adlai on them?